Okay, let's get out your notebooks. And across the top, let's write division problems as fractions. Now, many times you've heard me use the phrase divide the top by the bottom. If we have an improper fraction, and you can write this down, okay? Improper fraction divide the top by the bottom. Okay, so what that means is if we have the fraction 9/4, to get rid of the improper fraction, we divide the top by the bottom. And so we put the division sign beside the denominator, and we put the numerator inside of the division sign. And now 4 goes into 9 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract, you get 1. And that 1 becomes your numerator, and denominator is 4, giving you 2 1/4. Well, now we're going to go backwards. We're going to do the opposite. The first thing that, and a very common mistake that people make, let's say we have 8 divided by 4. Where people make a mistake is that when they write that problem as a division problem, they don't know what to put inside the division sign. It is 8 divided by 4, and so when we write it, we want to write it 8 divided by 4. Okay? Some people read them incorrectly, and I try to correct you with this, but when you read this problem, it is 8 divided by 4, not 4 divided by 8. Okay? So 8 divided by 4 looks like 8 divided by 4. Now, if we go in reverse with the improper fractions, we say we divide the top by the bottom. So in this problem here, what's getting divided? The 8. It's getting divided by the 4. So when we divide the top by the bottom, since the 8 is the number getting divided, that becomes our numerator. And our number out here, the divisor, becomes our dividend. And so 8 divided by 4 as a fraction would be 8 over 4. Okay, so when we, for a division problem, to write a division problem as a fraction, we want to make sure that our dividend becomes our numerator, and our divisor becomes our denominator. So if we write it as, do an example, and I'm going to make a word problem up as our example. Eight lollipops got divided among 3 students. How much did each student get? Well, typically, how would we solve that problem? The key word is what word? Each. So we know we're going to be multiplying or dividing. We want to find out how much each person got, how much one person got. So to solve that, we're going to do what? Multiply or divide? Divide. What is getting divided? The lollipops. So to solve that, we would take 8 divided by 3. We're putting it into 3 groups. As a fraction, this 8 divided by 3 would look like 8 over 3. Okay, does that make sense? Now, the second part of what we're going to be dealing with, and you can put this on the next page, interpreting the remainder. There are basically 3 things that we're going to do with the remainder. We're going to drop it, and we're going to make columns here. So put this on the left side of your page. We're going to round up, or we're going to use as a fraction. Now, when would you drop the remainder? In a division problem, when would you drop a remainder? Well, if you have candy and you're giving it out to each student equal amount, if there's a couple left over, is it fair to give some an extra piece and not others? Okay, so that would be one instance that we would drop the remainder, so such as candy. We're going to go to the next one. When would you round up? Meaning add one more. Well, let's say that you are buying hot dog buns or hot dogs. Okay, hot dogs come in packages of 8. But what if we have 10 people? We would have 1 with a remainder of 2. Does that mean that those 2 students don't get a hot dog? No. So that means we need to buy another pack of hot dogs. So, in buying packages, we're going to have to get an extra package. I'm going to put dividing candy. Okay? And as far as when would we use it as a fraction? If we're cutting a board and it says that you must use all of it. If you're cutting a board into you have a board. And you cut it into 3 sections. And if you use all of the board, since it says you're going to use all the board, that means that some of the sections may be a fraction of an inch or a fraction of a foot. So if we're told that we have to use all of a stick, I'll say, so we know what we're talking about. So if we're dividing a stick and we're going to use all of the stick, that means that the pieces may have to be fractions of an inch. And so that's when we would use it as a fraction. Now, can anybody else think of another time where we would either drop the remainder, round the remainder up, or use a fraction?
Use as fraction, maybe pi. You gotta cut it into even pieces.
Trying to think. Possibly. Okay? Anybody think of anything else? How about if we're setting up tables? And we want to put 5 to a table, but we have 7 people. Do those 2 people not considered a table? No, we need another table. So maybe rounding up would be tables. Maybe, as far as rounding up, if we're going on a field trip and we have 60 people, but a bus only holds 48, does that mean that 12 don't get to go on the bus? No, we need to take another bus.
So to drop it, you could use a pizza party.
Okay, where you're dividing the pizza up. Okay, we could even do that. Honestly, we could probably even do that as a fraction.
Like a money?
What do you mean?
Like, if you're out of money and you need to get more from your ATM.
No, but if we're dividing money amongst people. Okay, maybe you would, instead of giving one of my daughters all the time, whenever twice a year, I take all my change and I divide it amongst all of my kids. Well, if I have 2 cents left over, well, I try to be fair, so that means that one of my daughters wouldn't get an extra penny or something like that. So what I do, I drop that. I keep those 2 pennies and start the collection for the next time. Okay, so that might be when you drop it.
Like maybe a combined birthday, like who gets an equal amount of presents for each person?
Not really, because we'd have to be dividing it up. Okay? But that is when, these are the 3 things that we can do with the remainder. We can drop it. So if we have, let's say, we have 17 pieces of candy. For 5 people. Okay, so 17 pieces of candy for 5 people. How much does each one get? We would take 17 divided by 5. The 5 goes into 17 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract, you get 2. And so we have 3 remaining 2. Well, what are we going to do with those 2 pieces of candy?
Not give it to anybody.
We're just going to drop it. And so each person would get 3 pieces of candy. let's say we have 45 people. Hot dogs come in packages of 8. How many packages do we need? So we would take the number of people, 45, and divide it by 8. 8 goes into 45 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract, I have 5. So I'd have 5, remainder 5. So does that mean that those 5 people don't get a hot dog? No. What does that mean? We buy another pack. So instead, we're going to get 6 packages. Or they use it as a fraction. Let's say we have a board that's 10 inches long. I cut it into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? So I take my 10, I divide it by 3. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 10 is 9, or sorry, 3 times 3 is 9, subtracting at 1. Since I'm using the whole board, it's getting cut up, that 1 becomes my numerator, denominator is 3, and each board would be 3 1/3 inches. And so there I would use it as a fraction. Okay? So we can drop the remainder, we can round it up, or we can use it as a fraction. Any questions? Okay, so we're going to practice writing a division problem as a fraction, and then determining what we're going to do with the remainder. Okay? Get out your boards.